All, I'm going to try and cover a couple of updates now on things I've mentioned. My loyal followers might remember me going on about cannabis oil and its value and availability all over Stockport, really. But anyway, it's another story. You remember the story about Charlotte Caldwell and her son Billy caught smuggling cannabis oil in Heathrow and eventually given permission to take it. And then it caused a hullabaloo with politicians jumping on the bandwagon and saying they're going to make it legal, and then they are going to make it legal. But do you remember me saying, don't hold your breath? Well, now we've got a lady called Ilmarie Brown and her son Eddie, who has infantile spasms, which is intractable epilepsy, and he has 120 seizures a day. And guess what? They're refusing to allow him to take it because his medical team don't know enough about it. So they're saying don't. You can't get your breath. How many children are suffering, likely to die and all that just because these tossers won't take the time to study it properly? Anyway, good luck, Billy and Eddie and Ilmarie. Oh, whiter than white. That has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Well, it's been used by a senior officer at Scotland Yard who's been reproached and put on restricted duties. Now, when you read the story, it looks like he's dead bent anyway, and they're investigating him for all sorts. And like Al Capone, they've done him for an easy prosecution. And that's him. Gonna go down the road for that. What a shame. But then you look at the definition of it. And what can you say? Well, this lot certainly aren't. Hurricane Alley. Well, that's a term that makes you think, doesn't it? Being racist. Well, it's blowing us to bits, leaving a trail of damage. Nobody doing much about it, so maybe it is. Surprised no one's complained yet. Oh, this little beauty is Anjam Chowdhury. Is an extremist and a radical cleric, and he got 5.5 years in 2016, and he's up for parole any day. And Javid, our Home Secretary, is saying, well, right, well, he'll have to be released. Well, you don't have to be released for parole. If you're not suitable, he's likely to be a threat again. Keep him in. Even British Muslims couldn't believe how he had never faced imprisonment for years before this. And now he's going to be released with about 10 of his bloody cohorts, all of whom had 5 years and 7 years, and all who have had the sentences cut and are available for parole. But you don't have to give them parole, you stupid bastards. Keep them in. What was on with the parole board? They were going to let War Boys out, the taxi driver that had raped God knows how many women. About 30 or 40, wasn't it? And anyway, public outcry stopped that happening, so let's hope this happens. Well, can you believe it? Well, it's easy to advertise it, isn't it, and get them over here. I mean, all they got to do is tell them they get free houses. They can go ranting and raving about blowing us up, beheading us and everything else, go to prison and be released immediately. They can say what they want, do what they want. We even got a couple here who dragged their daughter into the doctors to give her a virginity test. A pair of Muslims who weren't happy with a boyfriend. And anyway, they went to court. Got charged with all sorts of violent offences, threatening people with ISIS and all sorts they were. The mother bit the daughter, the father threatened her with a knife, and what happened? They were found not guilty. Crying out loud. What's the daughter going to do now? She's going to go back and live with them. Anyway, if you can't stand the heat, don't get in the kitchen. Behave yourself, you naughty girl. Oh, this little beauty is Chi Onwura. And what does she do? She claims expenses for voice coaching and what she calls media training. She's a Labour MP, so she's probably learning how to speak nicely, maybe like me with a Manchester accent. But anyway, whatever it is, she can speak clearly enough to travel first class at the taxpayer's expense as well, for which she's been criticised, as well as other Labour MPs for claiming for plants, sweets and whatever else they're petty enough to claim for. And then this bright spark is James Cleverly. A Conservative MP. Can you believe it? Glasses are falling off. And he's had a bit of a checkered past already. Porn, pot, piss-ups. And now what's he doing? He's trying to account for the lack of police on the streets and the crime wave involving cash machines. So what does this brain-dead individual do? He suggests that we take all the cash machines away. Well, James Cleverly, Conservative MP, you might be able to get through life without using a cash machine, but I can't, and I don't know who can. What a tosser. Talk about tosspot MPs, Sajid Javid releasing a gang of terrorists. Keith Palmer, the PC who was stabbed to death by a terrorist on Westminster Bridge, has had a plaque raised by the MPs. It's on the canteen door with no smoking signs, site safety warnings and everything else. Well, there's respect for you and remembrance. This is a sad story, and our hearts must go out to the family of Irene Collins. She was savaged to death by a police dog. This is a dog that had attacked people on 10 previous occasions, even a kennel maid trying to give it flea treatment. The dog was mad, and it was allowed to work, and the handler, badly trained as usual with everything else in the police, failed to control the dog. The dog got in the house, attacked Irene, and then it was pulled off by the handler, who had the collar too slack, and the dog pulled out and escaped and attacked her again. Now, can you imagine what this woman was going through? She was 77. The dog was throwing her about the kitchen. The handler couldn't get his teeth off her leg. Absolute disgrace. Went to the coroner's court, the whole story came out, and what happened to PC Mark Baines? Well, he went for internal discipline and was given a caution. There's a dead lady here, a badly trained handler, and even badly a trained dog, and he gets a caution. Do you think that'd happen to you if you had your dog out in the park and it attacked somebody? Don't hold your breath. Mentioned in that last little piece, the dog was put down at last. This is a relief, really, isn't it? Especially for parents. They're going to get lessons off the GPs. And the patients are going to be asked who they've had sex with to get an STI. And how to share the news with the parents. Well, there's something to look forward to, isn't it? Anyway, onwards and upwards. If you can't stand the heat, don't get in the kitchen. Bye-bye.